on from Budapest. The 2023 World Athletics Championships have concluded. What a final night of track and field at the National Athletics Center. We had a fantastic men's 5,000 meter final. Jakob Ingebrigtsen had to use every ounce of cunning, every ounce of his kick to get the victory, to snatch it from Mokatia in the final meters. That was a lot of fun. Followed up by the women's 800 meter final, the race we've been waiting all year for. It delivered. Moraa springs the upset, hands Athing Mo her first defeat as a professional 800 meter runner. Keely Hodgkinson also beats Mo for silver. Mo gets the bronze. Raven Rogers up for fourth. Nia Akins ran 157 and got sixth, the PB for her. Really fun race to watch. Women's steeplechase, well, that race happened. And we closed out with the 4x4s. USA, as expected, gets the men's gold. But the women's gold, women's 4x4, there was no USA. The Americans got disqualified for a bad handoff in the semis. That led to a much more competitive final than usual, competitive for the win. USA is always competitive. You know what I'm saying. A more wide open final. And oh my God, I mean, talk about a way to end the meet. Femke Bol erases what appeared to be an insurmountable deficit with 100 meters to go. She anchors the Dutch to victory. This meet began with Femke Bol falling short at the end of a 4x4. The meet ended with Femke Bol crossing the finish line to earn the gold medal for the Netherlands in the 4x4. Redemption for her. They'll be celebrating the Netherlands tonight as they win the 4x4 gold. Well, this was a hell of a track meet. Really fun final night. All finals, you know it's always going to be pretty good, but they lived up to the hype. I had a great time at the track this evening.
Yeah, the performances on the track were amazing. Mary Moraa, someone's asking here in the comments, did anyone take the automatic bet where you guaranteed money if you bet on Athing Mo and Keely Hutchinson? Thankfully, I did not do that. Sorry if you did, but that's why they run the damn race. I sure didn't see that one coming, but she's a big talent, but I didn't know she's as big a talent as Athing and Keely. I mean, these were the 19-year-old 1-2 at the Olympics, 1-2 last year at Worlds. I've seen Mary do some stuff I haven't seen anyone else do in sport, like at the Commonwealth Games last year, to go first to last to first. You told me she'd run a pretty tactically poor race and take down Athing and Keely down the home stretch. I would have said no way. And ran PB. This was,
Well, let's be honest. This was probably a 154 if she runs the whole thing in lane one or the inside of lane one. I did the math here, Weldon. Lane 2 is around 407.7 meters, 407, 408. She ran all of the second turn, all of the final turn in lane 2, and like the middle of lane 2. And she ran the first turn of the last lap on the line she was in the edge of lane 1 at the start, and then she finished in lane 2. And you're not running extra distance on the straightaway in lane 2. So to me, that's maybe 10 meters. And I did the math at 156 flat pace for 800 meters. 10 meters is 1.45 seconds. It's 1 second. 7 meters. If you're just conservative and say 7 meters, it's 1 full second, like 1.01. She ran 156.03 tonight. So I think with a clean ride, that might have been a 154.9 or something like that. I think she has that ability.
Clearly. I mean, this event is delivered. And thank you, Athing Mo, for showing up. When we were leaving the stadium today, it's like, oh, John, would it have been better for her brand to show up and not lose? Did she hurt herself financially or whatever it is? You said no. I'm really glad she's here. I think the fans, the track and field fans, we appreciate her being there.
1,000%.
And long term, I think it's going to help her. She needs to learn how to lose. Unless she was going to go undefeated her entire career, losing is part of the sport. It's a skill you need to learn. Maybe it'll take some of the pressure off of her. So I was pleased. And she made time for the media. She did not talk to the media all week. She gave us like 11 minutes. It was back to the Athing Mo we all know, like smiling. She's very friendly with the media when she speaks. Smile on the face. You could tell though that it was a difficult decision for her to come here.
Well, the first thing she said in the mix zone when we spoke to her, Weldon, is she couldn't wait to go on vacation now. You know, you got the impression. I asked her, "Did you enjoy being in Budapest?" And she's like, "Well, did I enjoy it?" I'm like, yeah, it didn't. It seemed like you had to endure this more than enjoy it. She was just saying, I kind of had to come here, and now I'm waiting to go on vacation. And she kind of was like, yeah, though, I kind of like talked myself into enjoying parts of it, but yeah, it didn't seem like she was having very much fun out there. It did. I think about like Yard Nagus. He's like, this will be a successful meet as long as I have fun. He was soaking it in. He's like, this is great. This is lovely. Whoa. But he'd never competed in an Olympics or Worlds before. I think Mo's been to the mountaintop. She's already tasted the gold medal at the 2 biggest meets in the world. So for her, I mean, if she's viewing this race as this is something I have to do, and anything less than gold, people are going to be talking about me and viewing it as a failure, which I don't. I don't view this as a failure for Athing Mo. That's a lot of pressure, and she's been open about that. She said she's had to go through a lot of things the last couple of years with back-to-back championships, which is not uncommon in this sport and not uncommon with a lot of other athletes, but she's also had to uproot her life from Texas to California. She changed coaches, which is probably a different style of training.
She didn't have to uproot her life.
She chose to, but I didn't think she was going to live the rest of her life in College Station, Texas. And let's remember, like, the start of her Olympic year, she also had to move from New Jersey to Texas because she went to high school in New Jersey, fall of 2020. And she has had a lot of things. She's gone from being someone that only the track nerd knew to one of the most famous track and field athletes on the planet. I certainly don't, it is a lot of changes. And for her to continue training, she's still training as if she, we know she doesn't race very often, but she's still been training hard the whole time. And she has said that's a lot for her. It's not a lot. Some athletes can handle that. Some of them aren't as comfortable with it. And it certainly sounds like, she's not going to be running any more meets after this season. So it'll end with a total of 3 meets, but she's been training since January, and she kind of just wants to step away and not have anything to do with track for the next few weeks.
Yeah, we said, where are you going on vacation? She said, I don't know, but I wouldn't tell you guys. So I thought that was good. We actually have a video clip here. I'll play it. It was we asked her sort of, hey, tell us about the thought process of running Worlds. There seemed like a legitimate chance you weren't going to run it. What was going on there?
Well, I mean, we're going to run the nationals regardless, whether it's 15, the 8, 4, we're going to run regardless. It's really going to need to get some competitiveness in. But coming into Worlds, I mean, this whole year has been a lot for me. I've just had a whole lot of things on my plate. And so I think, as I've said multiple times, it's like the past 2 years for me have been a lot of transitions, a lot of just adjusting, a lot of things happening at basically, at one time. And so, Bobby knows what's going on, and he just wanted to make sure that my mental was fine. And he knows, obviously, how everyone, what everyone expects from me or what they, wish to see from me. And so, I mean, he just wanted to take that pressure off of me and just let me, do what I could, because this sport is very long. We have many years ahead of us. And I mean, possibly taking a year off wasn't going to be that big of a deal, but he just wanted to make sure I was okay before, going out there and, handling the world once again.
John, I think you can see there how she's like, oh, what everyone expects of me. I think she puts that pressure on herself. When Keely comes through, now maybe it's different. Keely doesn't have the pressure to everyone. It's actually completely different when you're winning all the time. Like, you saw this with Jakob afterwards. We're like, we'll play that clip in a minute. It's like, Jakob, are you going to celebrate? And he's just like, yeah. I mean, so it is different, but I feel like at the same time, her perspective could change. And I think most track and field fans want to see out here and give it her best. See what she can. She's got gifts from God that, like, a lot of people would die for. So see what she can do.
Exactly. What have been 2 of the most exciting races in the sport the last 2 years. Last year's World Championship final in the Women's 800. This year's World Championship final in the Women's 800. Because we've got 3 fantastic athletes who, at their best, are absolutely phenomenal. We only get to see them once a year, and they're against each other once a year. And the last 2 have been terrific races. That's what we want to see. That's what fans want to see. That's why they want to see her run on the circuit more than she does. And I think the interesting thing here at Weldon, certainly much of this pressure is self-imposed, because I asked her, Bobby Kersey, did you know he was going to go talk to the LA Times and say you were considering not running Worlds? She's like, well, it didn't really matter. I mean, I knew it was true. She was considering doing it. I'm like, but it seems like you would get a lot more external pressure by having your coach tell this to LA Times and put the spotlight on you than just having it be an internal discussion. But she did not view it that way. She just viewed it as I was having this debate with myself, and there was going to be pressure on me regardless of whether he told the LA Times or not. So she deleted social media. She said for the last 3 weeks she didn't want to. She hasn't been hearing what any of you guys have been saying about her. But certainly a lot of it is self-imposed.
Yeah, she deleted the social media accounts recently, or that's what she said. At least wasn't checking them. And the interesting comments here in the chat. Thomas Lester says, when Athing Mu got introduced and walked on the track, shook a person really wasn't enjoying the moment. I went and looked back last year at Eugene. When they introduced her, she didn't look very excited either. Couldn't find the Tokyo one, but it's sort of, some people can have a game face. We didn't have all these questions marks last year because no one thought, oh my God, she may not run the world. She may not run the race. She's talking, she goes on the All In podcast or whatever it's called and says, oh yeah, I might want to model. I don't know how much I'm going to do this. But there was one thing that was a little bit different today, John. She said, I'm really young. I got a lot more years in the sport.
I thought that was interesting. A lot more years in the sport. This is someone who openly talked about retiring very young, maybe if she gets the world record in a year or two. So that was interesting to hear. We didn't really get to ask if our perspective has changed. But can we talk about the race here for a little bit, Weldon? And Mary Moraa winning this title, not an outcome we saw coming. I mean, I think most of us viewed it as close to a toss-up between Keely and Athing. And then maybe if, Mary, she's the one other person in the field who would have a chance at winning, but it was a bit smaller.
But someone's pointed out here in the chat, Mary's beaten Keely 5 out of 6 times.
Yeah.
Got her number.
It is interesting. And she's a super talent. And I think the reason why we rate her a little behind the other two is she's 2 years younger than both of them. She was born in June. Sorry, 2 years older than both of them. Yes, she's 23. The other two are 21. She is fast. She's run 50.38 in the 400, but Athing Mu is almost a second faster in the 400 meters. And it's not like she runs the 15 and has amazing endurance. She's just an exceptional 800 runner. But let's be honest, Weldon, this was not like she ran some tactical masterclass to defeat Athing Mu. She ran a lot of extra distance. And obviously her chief rival Mo was also running that extra distance. So that negates some of it, but she ran a lot of this race in lane 2, and it was similar to what we saw from Marco Arop last night. She was clearly the fittest woman in the field. And when that is the case, it can paper over any other sort of flaws, unless you make some horrendous tactical mistake.
Yeah. I mean, Athing took it out quick. I think it was
26.5 and 56.0.
So 26 seems very quick to me. And she also acknowledged, she's like, look, the semifinals, I almost didn't make the final. Well, we could have told her she's Athing Mu. If you just fallen down there, they would have put you in it. But I'm glad she made it the old-fashioned way. And so because of the trouble she got in the semis, she's never used to running in a pack. She took it out hard. I mean, she didn't say that exact word. She said because
no, she was very clear about that, and she admitted she may have gone out a little too fast. She thought 56 would be something she could handle, but the fact is she ran out of gas the last 100 compared to the other two. And I have to think that going out in 26.5 and 56.0 had something to do with it. I think Moraa is probably fitter than her right now, but she didn't help it. And I think looking back, if you could redo the race, Mo maybe would want to go through a little bit slower. But the reason she said she was so fast is everyone else was going pretty fast. Mary Moraa admitted she wanted to go out in like 26 or 27. And the only reason she backed off is because Mo was already there. So this was going to be a pretty quick race for the first lap, no matter what.
I still think ideally you don't want to try to Radisha it. In retrospect, maybe if she lets Mary take it, sit behind her. But
well, I don't have an issue.
So poor in running in a pack. I don't know. At some point, I think she would have gotten antsy. I think there's been a lot of mental stress for her to be behind her. So who knows?
Athing Mu did Radisha it in Tokyo, and she went wire to wire for the gold medal and ran 155.
Well, as we're seeing here in the chat, John, Coach Wenga, Mo is slowing down by the year. 155.2 2021, 156.3 last year, 156.7 this year.
I mean, she barely races.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say exactly how fit she is in these things. But no, I look at this race and I think, yes, she would have been a little bit served by going out slightly slower. Also, this running on the edge of lane one nonsense has to stop. I know she doesn't feel comfortable near the rail, but this is why you run races during the regular season, or at least practice rep. Have a rail built around the entire track and practice running near that, because she may well have cost herself a silver medal by running the outside of lane one in the turns, because not only does it force you to run extra distance, it also leaves lane one open for someone like Keely Hodgkinson, who almost passed her on lane one at Worlds last year and did pass her on the inside of lane one this year. It just, I get that she feels more comfortable on the outside, but you're costing yourself time and distance, and you can still get tripped from the outside. Where was she when she got tripped in the semifinal? She was out in lane two, and she still got into contact. Contact can find you from anywhere. Someone, if they're running faster than you, they can run up on you and trip you from behind. You're not immune anywhere. So to me, it's just, I think it cost her the silver medal, and maybe in the future it could cost her a gold. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored here to be joined by Rojo. And it looks like Chris Lear, author of Running with the Buffaloes, I guess coming to us live from
undisclosed location. We don't want people to know how much money we have.
Oh, excuse me. Not New Jersey, actually. I'm pretty sure that's the Cape.
Let the man speak. Robert, we've been waiting days for you to unload your takes. I'm sure you've got some on the 800 final. Fire away.
I just got on. I heard Jonathan trying to imply that Athing Mo lost because of the tactics. Dude, Mary Moraa ran the whole thing in lane two and still beat everybody. Worthy champion. I thought Athing Mo would win, so I'm wrong in that. But John was even worse wrong that Keely Hodgkinson is going to win. Mary Moraa, a rare talent. I like it when a rare talent gets a championship. I feel like she deserves it. This is the only woman I've ever seen go from first to last to first at 800. Congrats to her. I guess I'll praise Athing Mo for showing up. What did we learn from Worlds? To me, the perfect fitting to this damn World Championships was Femke Bol. She starts out heavy favorite, falls flat, literally falls flat on her face, blows all the medals for her country, but she gets an individual medal. It's okay to lose, and then she comes back and gives her team gold. So it's just fun to show up. It's okay to lose, compete, enjoy it. I'm upset. Did the thing talk to anyone still?
Yeah, Rojo's cutting out there a bit. We'll get you back here in a second. We just praised her, Robert. She talked to us for 11 minutes. It was great. She was smiling. I wouldn't say she was happy, but she spoke for a long time.
She was, I think she was somewhat at peace with the outcome, which was good to see, because again, she hadn't lost a Pro 800. Robert, you need to rewatch that race. You're wrong about Hodgkinson not having a chance to win. You know who was in perfect position for the Hodgkinson game plan was Gemma Reekie, because what was happening the whole time, Gemma Reekie was in third riding the rail basically the whole way, and Hodgkinson was on her shoulder. And Hodgkinson thus was running a little extra distance and was basically either behind Moraa or behind Mo. If Hodgkinson had been able to cut in front of Gemma Reekie and have that third place position, I think she certainly would have passed Mo, which she already did, but she would have had a decent chance to get Mary Moraa in the final 100 if she had just been in Gemma Reekie's position the whole thing. Reekie was perfectly set up to do it. She didn't have the juice in her legs the last 100 that Keely Hodgkinson had. But I think if you're saying Hodgkinson had zero chance to win, you need to rewatch that race. What I will say, Mary Moraa seems the fittest and the best right now. And we saw, like with A-Rop last year, again, that's a huge advantage to have.
Runner X says, perspective changes with maturity. I'm no Olympic world champ, but I look back when I was that age and I wish I enjoyed the process more, being so focused on expectations. I mean, that's so true, John. Like some random BS meets at Yale is running like the C heat of the 3K or something, and I would act like the world ended You know, I like got the baton on the DMR one year and like first and ended up like last or something like that. And I played like Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive on the way home. I mean, like I think Mo's probably younger than I was at that age. It's just we got to remember she's 21 and Keely's 21. They act a lot older than that in some ways, but at the same time, they're still 21 years old.
Yeah, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I was in college, and I would get beat by plenty of guys who probably didn't think about running nearly as much as I did, but would just sort of chill and had fun with it. And yeah, I don't think that hyping and psyching yourself out, it's hard. It's a hard thing to get out of, but I don't think it really improves your performance all that much.
People saying, you know, something's clearly going on with her. We're talking about her too much. Yeah, she didn't reveal it. She's like, you know, there's stuff going on essentially. But if you think about it, for me, like, you can't pick 3 more different places in the United States that I could move you in the span of like, what, 4 years? Trenton, New Jersey, College Station, Texas, and then LA. But now in LA, like she has some family out there, I think. I don't know all the specifics, but she went from being in college, you know, which can be a big transition, but College Station is all about community and whatnot. And she seemed happy at Texas Tech. And then you move to LA and, you know, you want to be in the fashion world and that sort of stuff. And just like when you move to LA at 21, you don't know anyone. That's not easy from a life's perspective. So I can't think of a more difficult place probably to move. So who knows what's going on. And then she also switched to a coach who doesn't coach the 800 meters. So we can talk about Bobby Kersey more later.
All right. Well, looks like Rojo is back. So Rojo, continue, please.
I don't know what she said to the media, but I agree with Brian in the comments here. She's putting way too much pressure on herself. She deleted all social media. All we ever wanted her to do was race. I'm going to give her commendation for race. It was way more exciting to watch this world. Look, to be honest, we're on vacation here. If she wasn't in that race, we wouldn't have watched it, right? Like the 800's coming on, we're going to watch it. It's very fascinating to watch it with someone like Chris Lear, former 409 prep New Jersey. I mean, one of the greatest high school prep runners in New Jersey history. Let's be honest, one of the greatest running authors in history. But like, he's got 2 kids, one starting high school, one starting middle school. Like, he's not watching every race. Like, only the races that interest him are what he's watching. And I was thrilled that she ran. You know, and losing is part of life. Like, I tell my 5-year-old, like, you're not going to win every race. Has anyone ever won any race in life? I know there's somebody who retired, John, before he lost a race, but I assume he lost at some point in his life. Like, when I play Uno with my child, should I let him win every time? I don't think that's healthy. So, like, just, it's okay, I think. It's okay. But Bobby Kersey, terrible meet for them, really, right? I mean, Athing wins the bronze, Sydney doesn't win anything, and Kenny Harrison wins what?
Got the bronze as well.
Kenny Harrison got the bronze. So, yeah, I was saying, John, like, you know, kind of a hot take. Who were the biggest losers at the meet? And I was like, Bobby Kersey. And I think if you go back to the start of the year and said, hey, Weldon, you're coaching Sydney McLaughlin and Athing Mo and Kenny Harrison, I'll be like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Stuff off the internet. I'll get you 2 medals. So.
Oh yeah, I think you would have thought you would have got at least 1 gold medal, probably. Well then, and yeah, they got 2 bronzes. I mean, the thing is with how good the 800 is, though, Mo is amazing, right? But she has to be close to her best to beat these other 2 women. It's that simple. And
John, isn't that the case for anybody in the world in every event?
No, because there are other people who, even if they're at their absolute best, have 0 chance at winning. And there are some people who are so far ahead of everyone that they're going to win no matter what, which was what Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni was last year. Sydney could have shown up at the meet half healthy and still blasted everyone in that 400 hurdles.
Have we talked about Ingebrgitsen on the show yet? I apologize for missing the beginning, but
no, we haven't. Let's go to 5,000 meters. Pretty much the same story as we saw last year. Ingebrigtsen loses the 15, gets upset by a Brit from Edinburgh Athletics Club, and comes back and wins the 5,000. But the race played out differently. This one, it was slow again because also it was hot again. I am told that Jakob got water in the middle of this race. I didn't see it, but Second year in a row. That's pretty
Right.
badass.
A guy in Let's Run's like, it's over when he went for the water, meaning like he's taking it easy. He's
Maybe-
content to go get water.
Maybe he needs to start taking water in the 1500. I don't know. But no, this race, essentially, Jakob said afterwards, he's still not recovered. You know, he said he was 88% after the 1500 meters. He didn't say what percent he was in this one, only that he was not at his best. And as a result, he really had to think carefully and tactically about how he was going to do it. And he thought the best way for him to do that was to wait and make a move very late. And that's what he did. He passed Katia with only a couple meters left. But he gets his gold medal, repeat 5,000 meter champion at the age of 22. Pretty impressive.
I'm here joined by Running with the Buffaloes author Chris Lear. We were watching this one live. Well, we started, 10 minutes in, to be honest. And we just thought, watching it live, I thought Ingebrigtsen's just timing this perfectly. And then his comments post-race NBC were pretty fascinating. So, Micah, he was really tired. Like, I thought, wow, he's timing it perfectly, but he waited so long, it made me nervous. I mean, Katia put up a bigger fight. But, you know, I was the one that sort of doubted the Noah Lyles COVID thing, and you, John, are like, of course he's not making that up. Chris, do you think he really was sick in the 1500? I mean,
yeah, I do. I mean, I have no reason not to take him at his word on that. I agree. I mean,
there's something going around. I'm sick. Jamin is sick, and Jakob Ingebrigtsen's sick. So
no, well, that's been sleeping. What happened though? He talked about his illness in the mixed zone a lot. That was probably 50% of his 10-minute long interview was talking about this illness and how frustrating it was, because it's not even that he got the gold medal. He wasn't super excited because he knows he's capable of better. At his best, he's an absolute joy to behold. And he was essentially saying, look, I knew I wasn't at my best at this championships. That's what was so frustrating. I always want to run my absolute best race when I get out there. He wasn't able to do that because he wasn't healthy. And I do think that if he was healthy, he doesn't just sit and wait for these guys. He does what he did last year in the 5K. Why did he take off with 1K? He was very clear after he won in Eugene. I wanted to show and leave no doubt that I was the best guy in the field. And he absolutely did that. He crushed everyone that last 1K. There was absolutely no doubt. And I'm sure he wanted to do the same exact thing. Come out, stomp these guys, let them know very clearly, I'm the best guy in the world in this event. You guys are down here.
But
he wasn't able to do that, and that's why he waited so long to pass Katia. But if he was 100%, I think he takes it from a K to go and blasts everyone.
I will say, tangentially, John, but regarding Ingebrigtsen, again, I'm not a devout track fan like I used to be. But when I saw him in the heats, waving to the crowd and going from way back to winning easily, I thought it was a great move, because I have some friends who likewise used to be into it, are now following it more casually, and there was a lot of divisiveness back and forth. Some people hated it, some people liked it. I think whatever brings entertainment value is fantastic. I think we need villains and we need heroes, and if he's willing to play the part of the heel, fantastic. And he looked so good that day. I take him at his word that maybe he caught a bug of some kind, and that's what makes the Olympics especially so cruel, being every 4 years that could happen to you and sideline you. So,
but it's going to make it great, because we're not going to know until the 1500 is run tomorrow. He can win every race, every 1500, and we're still going to think he's vulnerable. But by the way, y'all didn't watch the race in the U.S. I almost I've been watching the last couple of days off and on, NBC. You know what I mean? I don't watch a track meet without complaining about the announcing, but to have the lead announcer 2 to 3 seconds delayed, because he's covering it off of a delayed monitor while his partners are covering it live, is wrong. But I almost was like, I could not believe what Kara Goucher said after this race. And he did it in a kick. People question the kick. I'm like, are you crazy? Do you understand? It blows my mind that someone could win a world championship medal and not understand running to the same level. I mean, admittedly, I was a coach. I was not I was an Ivy League coach. I'm not saying I coach world champions, but what? Your job is to analyze the distance races for NBC, and you don't realize that, basically, yes, Jakob's Achilles heel in the 800 is he's not that fast. He's a 146 guy, and he may not have a great kick in that event. But his kryptonite in the goddamn 5,000 is that he cannot be beaten because the championship 5,000s, particularly when it's hot, normally turn into a 1,500 in time trial, and no one's going to beat him in that. So she acted like him winning in a kick was like shocking. Like, this guy hasn't run out. Like, what type of 5,000 did you expect him to win? I just, like, some of these things just like drive me freaking nuts.
Yeah, it's, I hate to oversimplify this race, but it was a slow 1,500. Sorry, it was a slow 5K for most of the race. 13:11, actually, I'm kind of surprised. They were on like 13:50 pace at halfway, and they did pick it up a fair amount, but it was a pretty slow race. And who went 1-2? The 3:27 guy and the 3:28 guy. I mean, Mo Katir, he's not really known as a big kicker in the 15, but in the 5K, he's just so much faster than many of these guys. He was able to drop everyone except Jakob, who's a 3:27 guy. So that's exactly how we expected it to go when it goes slow.
In terms of the illness, I 100% believe he wasn't 100%. He's talked about it all the time, and he's like, I think some of it could be self-induced. Like, stress can make you sick, but he's like, look, I get sick twice a year. Once in the spring, once in the summer, once in the winter. And last year was in June. This year, unfortunately, is the wrong time of year. I got a clip here I'm going to play with Jakob, about 40 seconds, talking about the race.
I tried to run as smart as I could and conserve as much energy as possible. And I think I did that fairly well. I was probably not. It's difficult because obviously I didn't feel 100% today either. So and my mental awareness in the race is probably a little bit worse than it would have been if I felt good. So I just tried to save energy, and I really didn't get anything from the boards or cameras or timing or anything in the race.
That was a rare instance where on the boards didn't mean on the Let'sRun.com message boards. But he said, Jakob, when did you know you were going to win? And he's like 4,900 and like
50 meters.
50 meters or something. I think it took everything out of him. I think this one was really hard. What are you saying, Robert?
I need to go soon, but in the comments, what the hell? We turned it on literally. There was like less than a mile to go. This was a slow race. Like, this should be playing right into Paul Chelimo's wheelhouse, Nur's wheelhouse. Nur's been training 15. Where the hell were the Americans? Why were they dropped in this race? And that's my question. And then Chris Spear has two big questions for the meet, and we're out of here.
Yeah, guys. So we're actually just down to one. Noah Lyles. Totally impressed with his victories. My feeling is there's something that's not quite authentic with how he's presenting himself. And I think that he's going to only become a real superstar that crosses boundaries if he's his authentic self. It seems to me just a little bit forced. I want to really be all in with him as a person. I think he's a great person. I think he's quirky as a guy, and I would love to just embrace the quirkiness instead of trying to be. I just feel like he's trying to be a little bit of someone he's not, and I don't think that's going to work if he's going to really cross over and become the celebrity he can be next year. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, let's go with what Rojo said first. We did talk to the Americans. I mean, they essentially gave the same answer. Like, I don't know. I just didn't have it. I mean, that's the default answer with most athletes when they get dropped. Chelimo was dropped when they weren't even running that fast. He said there's been something else that's bothering him this year. He didn't want to go into it. It seemed like it may have been off the track. He said basically he's been under a lot of stress. He hasn't been right. And I know he did run that good 10K and he got second at USA's, but he was like, look, it's been bothering me. And, I clearly wasn't at my best today. He was frustrated by that. Abdi Noor, I was more surprised by because he looked amazing at USA's. I thought this was the kind of race that would line up well for him. And he really had no excuses. And you've got to be pretty disappointed in that, given he's basically finished the same place. I think he was exactly the same. Was he 12th in 2022 as well? He was very close to the same finish. I thought it was clear he was a better distance runner this year than he was last year, but he didn't get to show that in the biggest race of the year. So that was their explanations. As for Noah Lyles' comment, Chris, you're not the first person who's shared that opinion with me. I think a lot of people would say that. And even Noah admits he's trying to do things to get himself out there and to promote the sport. And that's not something that really Bolt had to do. And he's the clear comparison because Bolt had a natural charisma and energy about him, playing behind, before the prelims or before the final. He'd do all these, little gestures or all that stuff. Everything that people loved about Usain Bolt, that always came across as authentic because he wasn't constantly saying, I'm trying to save this unpopular sport. It was just, they would follow him around and love him. And part of it was where he's running really fast. But it's the same thing with Sha'Carri. Sha'Carri is an authentic personality. She's not putting on an act. She's not trying to boost the sport. She's popular, if anything, in spite of some of the things she does. She didn't like USATF promoting her for a meet last year, or she doesn't talk to the media very much. Noah Lyles, I'm not complaining about this, but Noah Lyles takes every opportunity to talk to the media at these meets, which I love. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of it. I think a lot of it is authentic, and this is stuff he wants to, it's stuff he wants to do. But he's very honest about this. He said, I talk to my agent, Mark Wetmore, every day about how we can make the sport more popular and that sort of stuff. And some of it is putting himself out there in front of the cameras and doing a lot of different things. And not everything's going to strike the right tone with the fans, but I at least respect him for making the effort. What he's doing, I'm totally in line with, which is making track more popular.
We respect it, but like one thing about the documentary, I haven't watched it for so, but Chris watched it. Chris is a Jersey guy. Noah Lyles' dad is a 4x4 world championship gold medalist, and you never hear about his dad. Like, his dad's been written out of the picture. That's not authentic. At least just tell us he's a strained relationship with his dad. We heard his dad was in Tokyo though, so just like
it's just curious. It's curious to me why. I just don't know. So I'm just curious. Why do they not mention it? The fact that he's at the World Championships winning gold medals and his father won a gold medal at the World Championships and no one mentions it, it seems like someone's been told in the media, don't mention my dad. And again, authenticity to me really sells. I love the fact that he's doing it. I'm completely rooting for him. Those are just my outside perspective. And
peace out, guys.
See you, Rojo. At one point, okay, a couple of things. I think till last night, I would have said, oh yeah, Noah tried